It's not often you get to meet somebody who not only introduced one remarkable brand into Australia, but two incredible brands. He launched McDonald's into Australia and then actually co-owned Gloria Jeans. Both of these worldwide brands now that are impacting around our world. And through it all, Peter Irvine has had a deep faith of wanting to follow Jesus and share his hope and his love, and in fact now does that work with Kingdom Momentum. We're going to discuss all of this in our conversation with him, a bit of a business guru. Looking forward to having a chat to him and about what drives him forward. Before we do, please like, rate, review, follow this however you can. Subscribe to the podcast, helps us get out to more people. Let's chat with Peter Irvine. Peter Irvine joins me now. G'day, Peter.
Hi, Clayton. Great to be here.
It's so wonderful to have a chat to you as well. And you are now currently the CEO and the founder of Kingdom Momentum, which we're going to talk about as well. Peter, let's sort of go back to the start. Faith is a huge part of your life, a Christian faith, a trust in Jesus. Was that something that was always there as a child, or was that something that was sort of came into your world later on?
Well, it's a journey. I guess life is a journey, and our faith and relationship with Jesus is a journey as well. I was always in church, if you like, in Sunday school from a very early age, and grew up in that and into youth group. I guess was in the youth group started to really be challenged around my faith in terms of where you're going, what you're doing. But it then took some many years, and I guess the real hit, if you like, came in about the mid-30s when I was having quiet time and I sensed God said to me, "Your Bible's too small." And I'm sort of saying, "Oh, I'm not really sure what that means." He said, "Well, you're mentally crossing out chapters and books and verses of the Bibles that people are telling you, or books you're reading are telling you don't apply today." And I thought, he's right. Well, of course he's right. He's God. And from that day onwards, the Bible opened up from cover to cover, and I went on a journey to realising we're just not here to get by and pay bills. We're here to succeed and be successful, to be a blessing to other people. Now, that blessing can come in many ways, as you'll hear about, I guess, on the journey, where, I get to then late 40s, and I'm in advertising agency. Not a lot of old people in advertising agencies. They've either died or they're in a pub, and usually death came not long after through alcohol poisoning. and I sensed that. Well, I guess I love the business. I love the energy of it, and still not really fully where I'm sensing what plan God's got for me. So I'm sensing saying to me, "You're not going to waste everything you learn and just retire somewhere. You're going to take this and help people from the mistakes you've made and the things you've learned on the journey." And then you start to yourself try to think what that would be and start to plan towards it, but it's never where you think it is to where we are today.
Well, as somebody who has a communications degree which majored in advertising, I was always very fascinated by your start in advertising. Maybe we go back there, we can tell part of this story of God in your life through the work that you are doing. And so maybe we'll sort of trace that out. Could you take us back to why you sort of got involved in advertising in the first place?
Well, I was back in the days when most people probably never understood. You only did 5 years in high school. The intermediate was year 9 and leaving certificate was year 11. And then that was a small number, probably 2 classes, and majority would go on to university. At year 9, most people left school to get a trade or just work at a job. So I'm 14. The only leaving I did was at year 9. I thought the school was all about sport and PE till the teacher told me, no, you do have to learn other things as well. So I got by, I got through. My parents were huge families. They never went beyond primary because they had to go out and support big families. And so there wasn't an expectation to own anything or do anything. You just get by and pay bills. So that's what happened. And we moved on from there. And I got this job, applied for a job, got it in an advertising agency. I didn't know it was an advertising agency. It was just a junior down in Circular Quay in Sydney. And I just got there and worked. After a couple of years, they promoted me into another department. So you get a few more dollars a week. Because you've got to bear in mind, when I started in 1963, it was £3.10 I was being paid, which eventually became dollars and cents a few years later, which so I was on $6.20. Yes. So getting a few dollars more was a huge increase. Where you move up and you just do the job, and I kept getting promoted, not understanding why. To eventually, after many years, they said, "Oh, we want you to be manager of this department." And I'm going, "Well, why me?" I wasn't sort of ambitious because that's not what I was taught. So we then moved on to eventually I became general manager after many years. In the last 2 years, 28 years on, I became managing director of this big agency with huge clients. And the chairman called me in and said, after being away on holidays, we want you to be managing director because the MD is going to America to run the Dallas-Fort Worth office. And I said, no, I don't think so. He pressured me. I said, look, I'm going to go home and pray about it. He said, oh, of course you are. He knew what I was talking about, but it got me out of his office. So I got home. I said to Sue, look, you should take it. I said, it's the wrong answer. So I rang our pastor at our church. We just moved churches to Hillsong, and being inspired, I'm starting to realise by now that God had a whole different plan to what I was growing up with. And it was totally unfamiliar that he wanted us to go and succeed and make a difference and impact people in the marketplace, because who's going to reach them but us? And so we start that journey, and I rang the pastor. He said, you should take it. I said, it's the wrong answer. So by the morning, God had worked on me, and on the way in, driving in, which was a long drive, I said to God, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to set a vision, whatever that means, and we're going to go forward. We're not going to sit around and do nothing as an ad agency. And that's what we did. We went forward phenomenally for 2 years until the Gloria Jeans opportunity came up. So I wasn't looking for an advertising agency. All I was looking for was a job at 14.
It's a remarkable story, and I mean, these are the ones that so many people love to hear. You didn't even know it was an ad agency here. You were running it by the end, but the experience of
Yes.
what it was throughout that. Along the way, you're picking up different principles, businesses. You talked about Gloria Jeans. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the things that you sort of, if you were to stand back and look at that time, specifically in that agency, and over those decades, the skills that you picked up that you are now applying to any part of your life, are there specific areas you go, well, that's actually something that's taught me about all of life?
Yeah, look, I certainly worked in advertising. I was a media planning and buying and scheduling. Then I became general manager, and I had a close relationship with McDonald's. I got on well with the marketing director. Most people didn't. And so from there, I sort of came a bit more cemented there. So I learned a lot about retail, franchising, and the principles that go around there. But, I wasn't fully an all-round person in advertising because it's a very specialist role. I certainly wasn't creative in the sense of writing copy and designing ads and those sorts of things. But that's why you got specialists, in these areas. You had a team that you brought in when you got a brief and you wanted execution of a plan or a brief from a client. And so it was really managing resources, and sometimes difficult resources, because creative people, a bit like worship leaders and musicians, very easy to manage.
Yeah, radio hosts, that sort of thing. That's right.
Radio hosts, they ask you difficult questions. But you've got to learn to manage all these to be able to produce a result and manage and service clients. So, and we worked on a big range of businesses. So you're starting to learn not just about marketing, but you're in briefing sessions. So you're learning about manufacturing. You go and see manufacturing plants of some of your clients. So you're actually working your way through the whole and in the end you get trained in PR, because McDonald's all had to be trained. So we got caught up into that, being trained in that, and servicing at a local level, franchisees. So the skills you learn and experience are phenomenal. And then, you know, you go and start another business, you can start bringing some of those skills, but you're going to learn a whole lot more. And it's interesting today, you know, someone can approach you about an issue they have in business and you think it's just bread and butter issues. For them, it's like a I'm going to die type issue.
Yeah. They've never seen it before, sort of thing.
Yeah, and you go, oh, yeah, I've seen it plenty of times. Here's how we go about, oh, okay. And it sort of helps them in that sort of way.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk a bit about, the two of the big brands that you work with. You mentioned already McDonald's and Gloria Jeans. Let's spend a couple of minutes on that. Were you actually your agency was actually a part of bringing McDonald's into Australia at the first place? Is that correct? Have I got that stat right?
Yeah, well, Needham, Needham, they had different names in America, but they had McDonald's, a large part of the brand. Another agency had a smaller part. They had the majority. So our management team were over there, and obviously when McDonald's was going to launch into Australia, they were able to get it for our country. The funny thing was our MD had said that we've been offered KFC, which was the only one in the country really at the time, and we've knocked it back. And I'm going, you know, what tree did you fall out of? We've taken McDonald's. The only thing I knew about McDonald's was the nursery rhyme. Old McDonald's had a farm. Anyway, you know, it shows you what our thinking, how we get it wrong.
Yeah.
And anyway, so McDonald's came. I was just a junior down the line in the media department, and we're just doing small plans, you know. And over time, I started to get involved as it grew, and we got to meet all the franchisees because we had to meet with them every month around the country. On each part of the plan, the agency was seen as a pivotal or key part of the McDonald's Corporation, the agency marketing-wise, and the franchisees. And we were sent in to sell things that the corporation didn't want to sell to the franchisees. So you started to develop a real thick skin in dealing with the franchisees. Another skill you gain. And so I sort of grew through all that and part of that business, and over the years you get some people that work in the agency on the business but are not liked by the company, so you have to move them somewhere else and then take up the reins again until you find someone else. So you're always in the loop with an account like that. So we worked through all those years, and the time I left was to start with our partners in Gloria Jeans. The account was huge. They had hundreds of stores right around the country. And I was part of being close to that account, plus others, right through the time. In the last 2 years, I was managing director of the agency.
Just remarkable experience. And that has indeed helped you as you then stepped into that next space as well, as you mentioned, into Gloria Jeans. So your world, I mean, we're covering off decades here in moments, Peter, but you've you know, here you are, you've got to this managing director, as you said, you've been working with this, and then you've talked about the opportunity of Gloria Jeans. I know that you were sort of one of the co-founders, but what does it actually mean? What actually occurred there?
Well, in mid-1995, now I'm around nearly 30 years in the ad agency running this big account. Our Connect group leaders took Sue and I to lunch mid-1995 and said, would you like to do something different? I said, what do you got in mind? He said, I've been offered this concept called Gloria Jeans. I said, look, I don't know a lot about fashion. He said, no, it's coffee. Oh, well, I like a cup of coffee. So he showed us this colour brochure. It didn't say anything much. And it was a brand in America. Now, he was in coffee and tea. He was advisor to the Australian government and New Guinea government on tea and coffee and working on plantations. And he had a coffee brand from America in supermarkets at that time called Brothers Coffee. And it wasn't just one like dark blend or medium blend, but it was flavoured coffees and so on. So I said, well, let's go to America and have a look. And we saw this kind of I didn't understand the quality in coffee or tea until I saw it in operation.
It's
decided,
sort of normal now in Australia, we understand, but
it is.
Years ago it wasn't. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it wasn't when we started. Like we come in with a concept of around takeaway cups, specialty coffee at a high price. We were really rowing against the trend. But what it proved me, you can change the mindset of a nation. And that's a whole new talk
Yes.
in itself. And a lesson for churches and even radio stations. If you set out with a vision and plan, you can change the culture in the right way. So we started the journey and we negotiated the rights. That's another story on its own. And we came back, eventually started the first store, November 96, struggled because their brand was around a coffee tea gift store with a lot of china and crockery, mugs, tea sets. And it took a year or so to realise in America the franchisees struggle all year until Christmas, till they can sell a lot of this stuff. And we thought that's not a great business model, so we set about setting a focus on takeaway concept, which you probably shouldn't do because you don't own the brand. Yeah. But we weren't going to survive unless we did something. And we started to get success. You know, we've had issues. We had a fire that burned everything to the ground with 92 stores open. There's a lot of obstacles. You've got banks wanting loans repaid, so you've got to get other financing. You know, the issues go on and on. But that's part of doing life and business. And we've never been promised there won't be problems and obstacles, but God promises a way through them. And through all this, you're learning a lot more areas of business and life and helping people, helping them through issues, whether they're your franchisees or you're their staff, helping them how to connect with ministries, supporting ministries, having a heart to help other people. There was a lot of things came out of all this.
We're having a chat to Peter Irvine. He is the man who was a co-founder of Gloria Jeans, as we hear. We'll hear a bit more of that story as well, and also heads up Kingdom Momentum. We're going to dig a bit deeper into that on the other side of this. Continuing chatting with Peter Irvine here on Towards Understanding.
Share your brand, your event, your message across 90 Christian radio stations and major cities in Australia and New Zealand by sponsoring Towards Understanding, hosted by Clayton Bielen. More than 210,000 people tune into Towards Understanding each week, and with just one sponsorship, you'll reach this immense engaged audience. Find out more about this exciting and unique opportunity now on the sponsorship page at positivemedia.com.au.
I know also from your perspective, and, you know, I certainly heard around the traps throughout the time that you had Gloria Jeans there too, that there was always a deeper purpose for you in that. It was a business and that's what it was focused on, but you wanted to do something with that business as well. Is that fair assessment?
Yeah, it's to both families. The desire was to create income for the kingdom. The problem is when you put that out there, you've suddenly got a bullseye on you. Yeah. In terms of the enemy, and there's the attacks and different things that come. But then on the other hand, everyone's after, you know, funds for things. I mean, you can't fund everything. You've got to work out, okay, what's our focus? What are we able to do? So when we started, it was struggling. We didn't have money to give away, so we decided to give product and give baskets of product around coffee and tea. And people really liked those, and the ones who were able to use them well, were able to use them to raise funds and do stuff. But over time, we just started to do a little bit different. We decided one day we're just going to give $500 a month to a ministry that we were passionate about. And then as we moved along, one year we decided we're going to support 4 children with compassion in a village in Brazil, in a coffee growing region. And this is where you start to learn the multiplying effect and how God has different ways of multiplying things. So as we moved along, we went 1 year by this stage, we now bought the international rights in 2005. And we have an international conference. We present compassion and children there that countries could support. And a number of master franchisees took on some children. So we came back and did it at our Australian conference, and a number of franchisees, quite a number, took it up. And then we did it to our staff. So we eventually ended up with a few more children we're sponsored with 240 children in a village in Brazil. So I suddenly realised with the business, it's not just us giving the money, but we can encourage or provide avenues for other businesses or people to connect into something on a greater scale. So the business we wanted to create jobs. We wanted to see people come to a relationship with Jesus. And we did see that amongst staff, franchisees, shop fitters. We did see that just from people working with us and seeing the heart that got them interested. But through the business, we're able to support in a whole lot of ways ministries and those getting the gospel out there.
It's wonderful that all these skills that you had and all of what it was, and you're talking about this moment of in your 30s where you went, right, I'm serious about what I am living out in my purpose with Jesus, coming together in incredible ways. How long did you end up then holding on to Gloria Jeans before you eventually sold that on?
We wasn't originally the plan. You see, if you look at all this story, starting at 14, just wanting a job, to where it's ended up. And Gloria Jeans, we started it so, okay, we would pull back in later years and other people could run it and it could still do that, but it wasn't God's plan. It became clear around 2013, early 2014. Anyway, we started the process and we sold out in 2014, and my wife and I, we were a Christian, quite high-profile Christian accountant, specialises in setting up trusts and so on. And we set about a trust that could invest funds and create funds for the kingdom. We don't own those funds anymore. It has a board that manages that. And then Kingdom Momentum was set up as a religious trust to actually create resources in the sense of people, ideas, to help Christian leaders, ministries, churches, Christian business people to be able to grow and succeed. And it can be in training, it can be in speaking, it can be physical resources of profiles or books, manuals of simple working business plans. So people have some tools to help them go on the next journey, because quite a lot of people will charge to do these things, but they're quite expensive, and ministries don't always have that excess funds. So providing some resources does help them get access to this type of information.
What I love is that you've brought the skills and the experience and the expertise and said, well, actually, this is helpful for those in business who want to make a difference, but also for those in ministries to want to make a difference. And that's where you've invested. It is the areas that you know well.
Yeah, and there's sort of a feeling that business and your faith or Christians don't mix, which was taught in my early years, which I guess was you just earn enough, so you got enough, but I can never work out why people appeal for money. Where was it going to come from? But if you look right through Scripture, God wanted his people to prosper, to be a testimony and be a blessing to other people. He prospered Isaac, he prospered Abraham, he prospered all these people. Jesus gave workplace examples to a lot of his parables when he spoke. And in fact, he worked himself, as did Paul. So it didn't seem to be an offence, to them. David goes out to fight Goliath and he asked 3 times what the reward was. But he knew there was a greater purpose, because he said to Goliath, today you'll know there is a God. But before he went out, he said 3 times, what's the reward you get for this?
Part of what it is, part of the plan. As you've set this up and been involved in it, and I must certainly stick up my hand here and say that the organisation that I get the privilege of running, we've actually been blessed by in fact your organisation as well in Kingdom Momentum, and had some expertise helped with us, just as we've set up some things to hopefully make sure that we know we're making a difference, and that's been just remarkable. Do you have favourite stories, and maybe you can't name people specifically, that's okay if you can't, but of the work that you've set up through this, and it's not just you doing it either, you've got other people who are helping you in that. Is there some favourite stories you love telling of this is the change that's occurred?
Yeah, so probably more recently I've become aware a lot of ministries who ring looking for help, usually it's funding, and this started during COVID. Oh, we need funding. Why? Because our giving's down. Well, why do you need it? Because the giving's down. So what are you going to do with it? Well, we're just going to keep our heads down until this is over. I said, I don't understand. I said, you were born for such a day as this. This is when we should come rise to the surface. We're here to help people, and we shouldn't be bunkering down and hiding just to get by. And that challenged a few people. There were some others who couldn't get their head around it. So today I'm really strong on two things. One is what's your prayer support base? Oh, I've got a couple of people. I said, well, how many phone numbers do you have in your phone? Oh, I've got 200, over 200. Well, there we are. Approach them about becoming your prayer partners. You've got to start getting some prayer around this. Otherwise, you're doing it on your own. Secondly, and they usually send me some of their collateral material, leaflets, brochures, and I go, it's all needs based, that we need a typewriter or we need, computer or this or whatever. I said, sell the vision of your actual ministry, and then put out what is needed to achieve that. What do you want to achieve, and what do you expect to come out of it? And here's what we need to do it. And I've got a lady in our church up here. We live near Coffs Harbour. We have a lady in our church that's really good at writing what I call a single sheet, sell sheet. They probably don't like the word sell, but it actually focuses on who you are, what are you doing, what do you expect to achieve, and what do you need to do it. And we're getting some great testimonies coming back from people that we're actually getting traction with people that want to buy into this, because it's a whole different pitch.
That's what I love about that too. That is, this is something that's about actually taking the idea and the thought and lifting it higher and seeing what more God's actually going to be doing out of it.
Yeah. And I think I'm challenging people now, because I think we have to rethink the whole fundraising thing. A lot of ministries are having trouble because they started years ago and the older generation is passing away, and that's their support base. Yeah. And they're finding it very hard to engage with the younger generation. Yeah. And I sometimes suggest, why don't you put a teenager on your board?
Yeah.
Get some different thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a bit over, but someone young, who can come in, how are they going to learn unless we bring them on the journey? I'm very strong now on the next generation. I'm not going to be around, forever. We'd like to think we are, but we're not. And the next generation, we need to sow into them in whatever ways are possible. And that's sometimes funding them to go to Bible college if that's where they want to go. So we sometimes will send someone somewhere we think is going to help them grow to the next level.
Yeah.
It's just really who we're dealing with and what we think the need is.
Multiple things for me. I want to finish with a couple of questions around challenge and opportunity that you want to give to us, across Australia, across New Zealand as we're listening. But just specifically, as people maybe hear a bit about Kingdom Momentum and they're like, I'd like to connect in. How do you connect in? Is it a matter of going to a website and writing an email and connecting in? Do you have to know somebody to know somebody? How do you operate in that regard?
I try to hide.
Yeah.
I get people keep trying to tell me, come on and say we could help boost your posts to get more leads. I don't need more. What happens, I guess, word of mouth. I'm doing quite a bit of stuff with John Sycamore from Half Time. We have a thing called Business on Purpose. It's actually a program that runs for 12 months, and we have about 30. We thought it'd be some non-Christian business people. We seem to be attracting Christian business people in all types of business, and they do a 12-month program to help they want to be kingdom business, but what does it mean? And they've got to solve their problem around what's your core message? Is your marketing working for you? Some of them are full of product in their warehouse. It's not moving. Their pricing's wrong. They've got finally comes out, their family relationships. So we've got people we can refer them to that can help on that journey. So that's one of those, and that brings through the promotion that the digital guy does with all that seems to bring leads to Kingdom Momentum. But we get people who don't know what they want. They just think it's another one I'll send something to and hope I get an answer.
Yeah.
But I think we've got to be strategic about it, who we approach and how we approach them. And that's the hardest part. And where I have difficulty, how do we focus? How do we bring the focus together to make this resonate with someone? There's a lot of trusts and foundations giving money, but a lot of them are very focused on where they want to give or they're passionate. Some are just purely church plants. Others want to help Indigenous. Others want to, help homeless. It just goes on and on. And focusing on the right ones and finding out the right ones, yes, is difficult, but you've got to start doing research and talking to people. And I guess people often come to us, and I usually say, you need a session. The person that did your session
Yes.
for your project down there in Melbourne, he's paid to do these sessions with people, so we sort out what they're really on about and where they're going and what they really need.
Absolutely.
Because I think your question, whether it was you, I can't remember who it was originally approached this, was we need money. And he pointed them in a different direction.
No, it was wonderful for us. We'd had the funding given, and then the opportunity to say, how do we actually shape this well? Or it might have even been the other way around. And then, he was, I think we can do something here and think beyond. I think that was the thing that always came from us from our sessions was, hey, think more than just what you're doing. What more could you be doing on a bigger scale? So, which is wonderful. Peter, as we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity. There is people who are listening who perhaps run businesses. Now, whether they have a Christian faith or not, they're listening and they're thinking, well, yeah, I want to have a purposeful business beyond just the making of money. Those who maybe are running ministries and are saying, well, I want to have the biggest impact that I can have. I want to have that. What's some challenge or perhaps encouragement or maybe a bit of both that you would be giving? And I know you don't know everyone's individual circumstance, but the areas that perhaps they could be first thinking about or challenging themselves in.
Well, I think there's just a couple of quick things. One is that, what do you believe God's birthing in you? And we sometimes, nothing. But if we spend time with him, I've had him speak to me during worship in a church service or during a message or watching television. Something prompted me and I've gone and written it down and explored it further, and it's developed, some of it's developed into an opportunity, or it started me on a journey somewhere else. And I believe God's birthing a vision for our life or our ministry or our family or our church or whatever it is. And we've got to lean into that and say, okay, open some doors, bring some information. But then you've got to start spending time with him and allow him to speak. And being in a place where he can speak. We're too busy not to be in church. Well, he can speak to you anywhere, but if you're not allowing the time, you may not hear, because you're too busy with other things. The second thing is to start to just get some thoughts down on paper. Where do I want to be in the future? What's stopping me being there? Now, here's a plan to start working towards the things I need to do, and start talking to people. Now, there are different programs around that help. Businessonpurpose.com.au is the one I do with John Sycamore, Jordan Mullen and myself. There are resources on the website of Kingdom Momentum, kingdom-momentum.com.au. Got the Maxwell Leadership Bible, a whole Bible with all his books, notes back in the Bible where he gets it from. There's a couple of books about search for significance or half time, because a lot of people in business and life get to halfway through life and think, what's all this? And it seems to be all over when they can re-envision their whole life with God to move forward in, the next part of their life rather than waste it. So there's a few resources there. So there's that one. I've got a YouTube channel, which has got over 220 videos, short videos, which is a series connecting faith and life and business to each book of the Bible. I'm up to just about to start Proverbs. So we've gone from Genesis to Psalms so far. Plus I've got short videos on marketing, building plans, reviewing your people. So there's 220 short videos, Peter Irvine, Kingdom Momentum, and you just click subscribe for free. There's no cost. So there's a number amount of resources available that are going to help people.
What a great opportunity to be taking the life that you walked into and weren't expecting, but realised. And I think one of the things I keep hearing from you, Peter, is that you're like, well, I thought it was going to be that, but as I was listening to God, he sort of asked this, and I did step into that, and something better happened, and then something more happened, and something more happened,
Yes.
more impact.
It's about what it is.
Yeah, it does feel like that's a big part of your journey, and the two parts of that are, of course, the willingness to listen and the willingness to then change, which sometimes can be hard on both fronts. So it's quite a credit to you, and I think an inspiration to many of us to be able to walk in that way as well. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Peter, for coming on and sharing today. And I'm sure you have encouraged and challenged a whole lot of us, so really appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
From Kingdom Momentum, and previously had founded and run Gloria Jeans here in Australia, and indeed many parts around the world, Peter Irvine, my guest today on Towards Understanding.